Well, good morning, everybody. Tipping my hat to all of you guys. How are you doing this morning? It is Connor, and we're back here discussing the latest rumours in and around Elland Road. And we're going to be discussing a few bits as well before we start this video. Make sure you slap a like on the video, subscribing as always, and we'll be back with a live stream tomorrow as we get into the final week of deadline day, of the deadline period, I should say, going into deadline day, of which we'll have your coverage all week on One Leeds, having, people on and all that good stuff. So make sure you're intertwined with what's going on. You want some bonus articles and bits, you can head on over to the Patreon as well, everybody. Link in the description. So today I want to be talking about three major things actually. A lot of people talking about Manor Solomon, and I understand why Leeds has been a bit of medical tests with him, and this is a guy who's had 3 massive injuries in 5 years, so this medical test is genuinely going to be interesting because he's not moved anywhere since Spurs or anything like that. There's not been any loans, and for last season he was out for literally about 6 or 7 months, so I don't know how this is going to work. Is there a potential that he fails his medical? There's probably a really high percentage that happens, to be honest with you, but I'm fascinated almost as like an outsider to see what happens here. And I hope we get his signature and stuff like that. It'll be good to get another decent addition on board, but it's just time now as well. I don't want us to be sort of mucking around when we've targeted this guy and we clearly think he's the man for the job. You just bring him in, and look, if that's what Farker wants, that's what Farker wants. Would I be looking elsewhere? Potentially. I mean, I did a bit of a breakdown on Manor Solomon and what to expect, and there's positives and negatives in there, so make sure you check that out. That's on the previous video. But today, guys, I think look, the Solomon medical will be completed. I'm sure of that. As I said, it's going to be fascinating to see how he passes this because it's going to be probably a rigorous test. I think Leeds bringing Solomon in are really risky. For me, with the whole thing, it's pretty obvious what Spurs are doing. They're sending him out on loan to just see whether or not he can stay fit. They're not going to get rid of him, which they could do, but they're seeing what potential he's got by obviously keeping hold of him and just seeing if Leeds can get a season out of him. This is a guy who's been averaging 15 games a season for 5 years, so that's a pattern, that's a trend. He's 25 years of age. Is that just going to miraculously increase potentially? We know with Junior Firpo that he was pretty much injury ridden, but what we did also know with Junior Firpo that a lot of it was muscular. With Solomon, it's meniscus. It's constant meniscus injuries, and it's in the same part of obviously that part of the leg. So that's the kind of worry I've got really with this one. So I don't know. As I said, if it's a supplementary signing to 3 others who are coming in, I don't mind it, or 4 others who are coming in. But yeah, there we go. Now, interestingly, out of nowhere as well, on another rumour, Ilias Chair to Leeds United. Now, this has come from the QPR side, and it was a Twitter account which is pretty decent over on that side, and simply out of nowhere, he just put out there, this lad, and then it was backed up by another couple of QPR Twitter accounts as well. Leeds want Chair. Now, this is interesting if this is the case, because it's the exact profile we need. Obviously, apparently we were looking at him last season as well, but Leeds just couldn't stump up the fee. I think it was £6 million us and Leicester at the beginning of last season. It was when there was all the conversation about Rutter. Is he going to really play in the number 10? Can he play in the number 10? How wrong we were. But yeah, there was conversation about Leeds and Leicester and Rutter and Ilias Chair, but apparently QPR just wouldn't let him go. Obviously, he's 1 year down on his contract as well, which is advantageous when it comes to a financial standpoint with Leeds. Obviously, another quite controversial character, has to be said. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, everybody. But that's another one at this moment in time that maybe is one to keep an eye out for. As I've said to you guys plenty of times, if it's murmured from the other side, you don't hear it from Leeds. But if it's murmured from the other side, you have got to take it relatively seriously, in my opinion. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Where has that just come from? So yeah, wait and see on that. We'll wait and see on that one. As I said, that is just it's a bit of a rumour that's come from the QPR side. So keep an eye. And lastly, what I wanted to speak about today, and we're going to have a conversation about this. It's Maximilian Weber now. He was out the other day with a injury, and he might be injured. But I'm really confused by this one. Now, I don't understand why this has been like him staying at the club. I don't understand why this was ever a thing, because he was never going to get in front of Pascal Struijk, and this is surely a conversation, or maybe Farke didn't have this conversation with him, but he was never going to get ahead of Pascal Struijk, who's the best centre-back in the league on that left. Farke loves Pascal Struijk. He said it about 900 billion times in press conferences. What I can't get my head round is why Wober at the very beginning has said to Daniel Farke on the German training camp that he wants to stay at Leeds and fight for his place and all this sort of stuff. Why am I saying this? Well, it's transpiring right now that apparently Gladbach still haven't left the conversation. But what's irritating me is because they can't afford him in terms of a permanent, they now want to get him on loan with an option / obligation. And that irritates the life out of me, because what you're then doing with Leeds United, just reject it. And I know this sounds very, like, look, I'm not at the negotiation table, but from a logistical standpoint, I don't understand why Leeds will do this. Why? Well, because you've got a strong option there, right, in Wober. Didn't have a great game against Borough, but you've got a strong option there. And what I can't for the life of me understand is, if we let him out on loan, what benefit are we going to get from that? We're going to have to go out and find another centre-back of the standard of Max Wober, who is a good standard, everybody. I know a lot of you will just judge him on that Middlesbrough game, but you can't do that. You know, you've got to judge him on a list of games. He'll want to play first team football. Of course he will. Gladbach are probably going to give him that first team football. But if you Leeds, you're then going to have to go out and get another centre-back, which is going to put the pressure's already there on getting a full-back, on getting a 10, on getting a right winger. I don't understand why they'd loan someone out. They're getting no financial reward for it, evidently because the player just wants it. You know, I just hope Leeds dig their heels in a little bit and say, well, no, no, you're not going. But it feels like, according to the Bundesliga side of things, the Mönchengladbach side of things, that Wober and his agent are in contact and all this sort of stuff. And I just don't understand it. Like, why have this conversation? Why? You know, and it's not like he's behind Daniel Farke's back. The club must be aware of it. I just don't get Wober as an individual, to be honest. I don't understand why. Like, if you've committed to the club and you've said that, Germany, you know, post-Germany, and you want to stay at the club, I get Gladbach are there, but from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense from Leeds' perspective alone. But on top of that, it's just as a moral thing from Wober. Just, if you've committed, like you said you'd committed last season, don't just drag us through it again and then just leave. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, I thought that at least this season we were going to see Max Wober committed a little bit, like we've seen with Aronson, like we've seen with, you know, players like Firpo in the past. You know, ignore the outside noise and just get down to it. And I feel like he's doing it again, where the very last day of the season, he's going to be like, well, he's going to go against his word and he's just going to go. And it's like, now that's another position Leeds have to replace, and it turns into 4 or 5 that we need in. I just think it's just a bit daft. And obviously Farke won't want to lose him, because he didn't want to lose him last year. That won't have changed, especially after their conversation. So if this is true, I think it's a bit off from Wober. I really do. But from Leeds' standpoint, I would not be letting him go on loan at all. I'd dig my heels in. I'd say, nah, mate, if it's a permanent signing, meet the 12 to 15 million quid valuation or euro valuation, and we'll wait and see. But guys, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below on Max Wober and the rumours that we've spoken about today. Are there any additional ones that you've heard and you want to discuss? And would you like to see someone like Ilias Chair come in? Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.